Bees do have a smell, and if they don't, they should, for their feet are dusted with spices from a million flowers.
One of the biggest problems with the bees right now is the lack of habitat and food sources in general. When you have monoculture farms, they don't have as much variety, and bees need the variety to be healthy. Our food system is set up to be hundreds of acres of the same crop over and over and over again. And for bees, great, okay, there's a whole lot of pollen there, but there's not a lot of variety, and that makes it hard for them, because if that pollen is contaminated with some kind of pesticides, that completely wipes out that entire food source for them. It's completely irrelevant for them, and it could be poisonous to them. So one of the things we really need to think about is reverting back to having biodiversity within our food crops and having a lack of pesticides, which we don't have now. We have copious amounts.
One of the major classes of insecticides that are used to treat seeds would be neonicotinoids. It's a nicotine-based pesticide. Basically what happens is when these bees go out to pollinate plants that have been treated with neonics, it frenzies their internal GPS. It doesn't necessarily kill them, so that when they leave the hive to go pollinate, and then they pick up some of the chemicals that were treated, they cannot find their way back because it has messed with their internal GPS. So that's sort of a huge issue, and it's what's causing colony collapse disorder. So the only thing that has been put out by the government would be a study or an analysis done by the EPA saying that there is no economic benefit to using neonics, which is one of the main points that most people like pro-neonics would bring up, is that it keeps crops alive and it's just economically beneficial for them to use. Do we save the bees, or do we save the money?
You should care about bees because your food prices are going to increase hugely if we lose our pollinators. If everything's being hand pollinated by people, there's no saying. I'm going to probably go on the ledge and say that you're going to see huge amounts of starvation because of it, because people just aren't going to be able to afford food. It's already expensive as it is now. Produce and organic things cost way more than a lot of processed foods, and if you want to be eating real healthy food, it's not going to be available because the bees are going to be gone. The way honey is being mass produced is they'll have hundreds of hives on this plot of land, and they just go through and scoop up everything. And they don't really stop to think about that bees need a lot of their honey to survive for the winter. They don't stop and think about that, really. They just take everything they can to sell it, because they're just trying to make money. Another tactic that they use a lot is they have bees hives moving from farm to farm across country. So they'll start in the south in the wintertime, and as this growing season starts happening in the north, they'll move the hives around. And right now they don't really think that's a huge problem, but how is that spreading diseases? We have varroa mites, we have nosema, we have American foul brood, and these kind of viruses and bacteria that are really devastating to hives. And if one region has them in, say, Florida, and they're there all winter, and then in the summer they come up and bring them to blueberry farms here in Michigan, then all of a sudden that American foul brood, which will wipe out your hive, you have to burn your hive to get rid of it, it'll spread like wildfire, because here isn't used to it yet. Agriculture is what we do. Come on, our whole point is to go big or go home. Our whole point is to feed the world or stop trying in agriculture. And if we don't have bees, we're going to have zero agriculture. Whether or not you like it, you really need to contact your congressman and your government people. You need to tell them this is something that's important to you. If you, as a house owner, homeowner, or even in a dorm, if you can find a way to have a window box or something that bees can access to, any kind of flower that's going to attract them is going to help them out, even the littlest. Think about it. It's this tiny little bee. They'll fly over 2 miles to find food. How can they not have 5 acres in bloom within a 2-mile radius? It's just the way we have everything planned now. If we fix that, we'd be helping them out quite a bit. Save the bee, save the planet.